Hello, my name is Michael Viers. I'm an independent filmmaker and podcaster here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I directed the film No Soliciting, which is about a grouchy man by the name of George who really appreciates his solitude, and he doesn't want to talk on the phone. He doesn't want people to come to his door. He doesn't want any of that. However, his opinion on soliciting might just change when Elijah and Abigail knock at his door.
I could totally relate to George.
I feel
Uh,
like a lot of people can.
yeah, you're a legacy filmmaker with our film festival. You've had three films in the past, and
Yes.
now this is your fourth one. You're coming back. Our season this year has a lot of returning legacy filmmakers, and you also brought along another legacy filmmaker with your project with writer Dick Gruner.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
So me and Dick met each other years ago, and actually, I think I met him because of your film festival. Funny enough, I think it was the year that he was a judge, and he had seen From the Darkness Theater, and he had reached out to me personally and just said that, hey, I was a judge at the film festival this year, and I just wanted to really tell you how much I liked your film. And we hit it off from there. I actually didn't know much about him. I didn't know, like, his career working for Cartoon Network. I didn't know any of that. We just kind of hit it off because we both liked filmmaking and horror movies. And as time has gone on, we've found a kinship over, as I said, horror movies, but the writing process. And how it came to be that we were working together on this was I was kind of in a rut, and I was trying to get a much more complicated film made that, as time went on, it just felt like it was less and less likely to happen right now. And I wanted to make something, and it always feels like when you are most anxious to make something, you don't have any ideas. And I was talking to Dick about this, and I just kind of thought, like, well, I said to him, I was like, you write more than any human being that I've personally know. Do you have anything that you've made, that you've written, that is just sitting in a desk somewhere that you don't have any plans for, that I could try to adapt? And he sent me like a PDF, or he sent me like 4 or 5 different PDFs of scripts that he said he wrote that he liked, just they weren't going anywhere. And this was one. I liked them all, but this was one of two of them that I felt like would work with my sensibility as a filmmaker, and that I could do for next to nothing. Um, and it just kind of it spawned from I guess a place of desperation, just wanting to make something and knowing that he might have something for me.
Now, is this the first time that you've directed somebody else's work?
It is
You've
not.
written you've written a lot of films.
At this point, I would say it's about half and half. I actually no, it's not even half and half at this point. Um, I wrote From the Darkness Theater, and then the two films I did after that, Love You Still and Do You Love Me, were both written by someone else. And then this one, I have a co-writer credit on it because I came in and did some punch ups on it. But the script, it's all of its bones, its characters, that all came from Dick. So I actually really like adapting other people's work. When I first started, I didn't know if I would, because when you know this, you're a writer and a director. When you sit down and put pen to paper, you have these really vivid ideas of how you want to do things. It can sometimes be intimidating to look at someone else's words, and sometimes you're just staring at the page and you're like, I don't know how I view this. But it's almost, it's can be scary, but it's a fun challenge to come into something that you don't have a history with, and try to figure out how does it work within your style, how can you shoot it, and so on and so forth.
I don't think I've seen these group of actors in a film you've made before.
Mm-hmm.
Is this also a new crew as well?
New cast that I've never worked with before, crew I've never worked with before. I And so how that came to be is my producing partner on this, Zach Brady, who I believe might have made something that played at your film festival in previous years. I believe it did. I'd have to look at his titles again. He has done a lot of producing work in town and directing, and he really wanted to start getting a chance to shoot more. And I've always wanted to work with him, and we kind of were sitting down and talking about this. And it had been so long since I had made something that I just kind of lacked some of the confidence to try to get something off the ground, especially because a lot of my contacts are now either moved on or they're doing bigger projects, and it's sometimes harder to ask them to come in and do things for not a lot of money. And
When
I
was
said, well, if you,
your last production?
my last production was in like 2013.
Oh,
Well, like I
well,
think I've done some little things like music videos and such, but I hadn't made a narrative film in a while.
you've been busy though with your podcast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But no, told Zach, I was like, hey, you want to shoot something? I'll let you shoot this if you help me get this off the ground. I just told him I don't know as many actors and crew members as I once did, or I'm not as close to them. And so he with that came a lot of crew members that he knew. And then actors, I reached out to a friend of mine who is a friend of the festival, Mac Bates, who's been doing a lot of acting. Originally, I had him envisioned as George, but he couldn't do it because of commitments for a play. And he got me a bunch of other actors to reach out to. And then David Salama, who plays George in this, I'd worked with him on just it is a lighting demo that turned into a short film. Me and a couple friends wanted to get together and just play with some new gear that we got, and it just felt we wanted to make something instead of just shooting random, scenarios. So he came out and just did a bunch of ad-libbing for us, and I loved working with him. So once Mac wasn't able to do the part, me and my producing partner Zach, we both just thought, hey, he's the guy to go for.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to spoil anything, but what was Dick's reaction to the final film?
Yeah, he loved it. So as I said, me and him share a writing credit on it, but I didn't originally want that. Well, mostly just because I didn't want like so when I was reading the script, I loved what he had set up. And I believe the original draft of the script just called for him to get like pulled into the darkness. Um and I was reading a lot of H.P. Lovecraft at the time, specifically the story The Haunter in the Dark, which I believe was Lovecraft's last story before he passed away. And I got really inspired by the idea of there's something lurking in the dark, and this idea of like this cult, because I believe in the original script the solicitors were just Satanists, and to me that felt too easy. That just felt like something that I would see in any story. So I wanted to kind of change that a little bit, but he was really happy with it. Because I was doing rewrites because he just didn't have the time. So when things need to be changed I originally came to him and said, hey Dick, do you have time for this? He didn't. So I mostly did rewrites just out of necessity, not with the intention of getting a screenwriting credit, but he actually says that he thinks my rewrites improved the story and is really happy with the way that I was able to keep his voice intact, but then find a way to make it something that's still my story. That he was really happy with it, which was ultimately my goal. That's all I wanted. I just wanted him to be happy with it. And I had a draft of the script that he flat out told me that just did not get the vibe right. So that inspired me to go back and try to do it again.
How do you feel about your project? I mean, this has been a number of years since you've directed, and now you're back in the saddle. And how do you feel about it personally?
I feel great about it. I It's always tough because you feel one way when you're on set, and when things are going right, things are going wrong, what have you, feel a certain way when you're making it. And no matter what, there's always this charge and this excitement. And then you have the other feeling when you're sitting down looking at all the raw footage and just wondering what the heck did I do with my time? Because yeah, and then once you start putting it together and you start finding the story, you feel a different way. So I went through a lot of different emotions, but for me, it really came together once I saw a rough because I was also the one editing it. So I got to a certain point where it was just hard to look at a certain point because I had seen every version of it. But once the rough color grade started coming together and Kevin Christensen's score came together, it was like viewing it completely with new eyes, and I'm really proud of it. Very excited for people to see this because I think it's fun, but still manages to be creepy and is, yeah, I'm just really happy with it.
Well, thank you again for sending us your film.
Well, thank you for enjoying it.